trainers, fight fans, goats, and GWOATs. Welcome to another no decision podcast. Another decision, no decision podcast. That's going to be our new title. Just kidding. It is I, Wes Ibarra. Alongside me is Joy Villapando. Joy, we got a lot of rounds to go through tonight through this decision, no decision podcast. Play with me here. This is going to be the line the rest of the show.
All right, let's go.
All right. Round one. Greatest woman of all time, Clarissa Shields, had a fight on Friday, March 5th, against Marie-Eve Decaire of Canada in Flint, Michigan, her hometown. So the hometown queen showing out for the hometown fans, putting those middleweight titles on the line. Unified champ. Both ladies were undefeated going into the fight. And Joy, we watched this fight together. We still think it's strange that a pay-per-view happened on a Friday. But we're not complaining. We're not complaining. Clarissa Shields reminded us why she is the greatest in boxing, women's boxing right now. She pretty much outpointed Marie-Eve Decaire.
Right.
I don't understand where Decaire thought she was winning the fight. I understand you have to have confidence, but still, no. Clarissa Shields came to fight.
Right.
And she defended her title successfully with a unanimous decision. I think it was pretty much a shutout. I don't quite remember the scores off the top of my head, Joy, but all three judges were in favor of Clarissa Shields. So as a result, she gets those titles. She improves to 11-0, while Marie-Eve Decaire falls to 17-1-1. So, Joy, what do you have any new feelings about this fight now that we're a couple days away or outside of it?
Ooh, she won by decision, no decision. That's how she won. But
there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
But yeah, absolutely. It was strange watching this on a Friday. I don't know. Have you heard about any of the results from the pay-per-view? Like just kind of like any numbers,
like sales numbers and whatnot.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, and that is the problem. They should start if you're gonna start talking Pacquiao and Floyd numbers, start talking about Shields numbers. God damn it!
All right. Absolutely.
But
yeah.
Sorry, Joy, I kind of derailed you a little bit.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, like I would love to see the numbers on that, and like you can't really blame it on Clarissa Shields because you pretty much held it on a Friday, which is but yeah, Shields was too good. Like it's funny that you brought that up, that Marie-Eve Decaire's kind of corner told her that she was winning some rounds. For me, I mean, if I'm a boxer, I want my corner to tell it to me straight if I'm losing or not. Like, there's no point in trying to fabricate what you're trying to see. Maybe they did believe that she was winning some rounds, but I don't know. In my eyes, I think Shields dominated the entire fight. Shields, I think she felt Marie-Eve Decaire's power, and she wasn't intimidated by it. So she kind of just set up for like big counters. She kind of did the rope-a-dope. But yeah, it was interesting, right? Like, because Shields was, you could tell she's a lot better than Marie-Eve Decaire. I'm not trying to like bring Marie-Eve Decaire down. I think she was a fantastic boxer, but yeah, like Shields was on another level, bro. Like, yeah, like there was a point in the fight where Marie-Eve Decaire didn't even see the right hands coming. Shields could just throw it, and she wasn't gonna miss. And so, yeah, it was pretty lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, when you go up against the best, that's the result you're gonna get.
Right.
The
GWOAT.
So yeah, I mean, now there's no doubt there, not that there ever was. Now I will say the real interesting part of that fight, Joy, was actually what occurred after. She put on a hat that had the PFL logo. So for those that are just pure boxing folks, PFL is the Pro Fighters League, and that is MMA. And like we've said before, Joy, Clarissa Shields has been doing MMA training.
Yeah.
And now it's pretty much no surprise now that she is trying to really get into MMA via the PFL.
Right.
So it makes me wonder, Joy, like, are we going to see Clarissa Shields again in the ring, or are we just gonna see her in the circle, octagon, whatever from now on?
Well, it's interesting that you brought that right. Brought that up, right? Because in the post fight, she also mentioned Savannah Marshall, and obviously, like these two kind of have a rivalry. Savannah Marshall did beat Clarissa Shields in the amateurs. I think even way before she got the gold medals in the Olympics. So she did kind of call out Savannah Marshall, but again, right? Savannah Marshall, like, I mean, again, right? Clarissa Shields is way too good. So um, it seems to me like it was like a Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence kind of situation, but it does seem as though like Clarissa Shields is more interested in MMA now, and who could blame her, right? The MMA has more recognition when it comes to female fighters, and you can't go wrong with MMA right now or UFC, pretty much. So yeah, I don't blame her.
I'm glad that you brought up the big U, Joy UFC,
Hmm.
because uh, I'm gonna make it a task this week to look up the middleweight division in women's boxing
Yeah.
in the weight class.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're probably asking me, what does this have to do with UFC, West? Well, guess who is the queen at 145 bantamweight UFC, and probably is the greatest UFC women's fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes.
Ooh.
So what if we keep around? Clarissa Shields has a run in MMA. Go on GWOAT.
Ooh.
Don't you think it would be a good idea?
I mean, yeah, absolutely, that would be like a fantastic idea. Like, I'm pretty sure it's also easier to like make happen, especially because kind of the UFC kind of flows or runs under one roof, so it's a lot easier to make fights. I wouldn't be surprised if this fight gets made. But yeah, I mean, I don't know much about MMA, but I've heard of Amanda Nunez, and so this is going to be interesting, right? We've always had the topic between MMA versus boxing has always been an interesting conversation. What rules do you follow? Who's gonna is it gonna be a boxing? Is it gonna be an MMA fight? So yeah, it's
Well,
definitely
Joy, what
interesting.
I what I just said was, what if Clarissa Shields makes a run in
Ooh.
MMA? So what if she clears out PFL? What if she does well in, I believe it's Invicta, which is the
Mm-hmm.
women's one,
Right.
and or Bellator, and then all of a sudden Dana White offers her like a one-off or two-off contract. And what if part of that two-off contract resulted in Amanda Nunes, assuming Amanda Nunes wants to keep fighting? Like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, but we'll see, right? We'll have to see. It seems as though Clarissa does enjoy MMA. She's been training for like what the past couple, like the past year. She's been into
Mm-hmm.
MMA, and so like we'll see, right? We've seen some pretty good female, women's boxers that transition to MMA that actually are pretty good, right? And so yeah, we'll see.
Holly Holm,
Holly Holmes, right?
who Amanda Nunes has beaten before, I
Mm.
believe. So that's, I'm not trying to foreshadow anything. And I just watched Amanda Nunes clean up Megan Anderson last night
Mm.
at UFC 259. So she still got it.
Right, absolutely.
So, but enough for the fantasy fight talk. Next thing you know, we're gonna talk about WWE versus boxing,
Well,
like Rocky versus Hulk.
yeah, it'd be interesting if there would be like one fight in between each discipline, right? So one fight in MMA, one fight in boxing. I think that would be dope. I think it's a great platform to test it in.
It sounds like someone wants Mayweather McGregor 2 to happen.
On an MMA, on an octagon.
But anyhow, that's besides the point.
Yeah.
The point here is Clarissa Shields outclassed Marie-Eve Dicaire. Congratulations to Clarissa Shields. You're the GWOAT in boxing, at least.
Hmm.
And, I'm excited to see you in the circle or the octagon or whatever shape PFL is. I don't really follow PFL, but I follow Bellator and UFC, and Bellator Circle, UFC's Octagon. So whatever, the cage, There you go, the cage.
Cage.
I'm excited to see you in the cage. But yes, we're now going into round two, and round two we're going to be talking about tanks.
Ooh.
Gervonta Tank Davis been the talk of the lower weight classes lately, particularly lightweight.
Mm.
But he said he's going up to 140 and facing Mario Barrios, who is one of the up and coming, soon to be big names in that weight class. Now, what is going on in this ongoing storyline, Joy? We have Gervonta versus Ryan Garcia. We have Gervonta versus this guy, or Gervonta versus that guy. Now it's like, now he's playing an Errol Spence Jr. saying that he wants to go move up in weight. And he looks to fight this guy, said, who is pretty good. Let's not take that away.
Right.
But okay, well, who do we believe here?
Oh, oh. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, right? Because Gervonta, of course, he's been in talks with other fighters that he's gonna fight Ryan Garcia, which is the fight that I want to see, right? Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I feel like Gervonta shouldn't think about going up to 140 just yet. I think Gervonta could do a lot of damage in the division that he's in right now. Um, I mean, look at who's above him at the moment: Devin Haney, Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia, and obviously Teofimo Lopez. But like, I don't know. Like, I think he has a pretty good shot at this current weight class at 135, right? Going up to 140, I could see why he wants to go up there. There's not a lot of big names in 140, except for Mario Barrios, right? Who's kind of the Ryan Garcia of that division. Mario Barrios is no slouch. I mean, of course, he's he's pretty new, but this guy has like incredible knockout power. I saw his previous fight against Ryan Carl, and yeah, I mean, he pretty much outmatched Ryan Carl. So if there is going to be like a Gervonta versus like Mario Barrios at the first fight at 140, there's gonna be like a ton of fireworks.
For sure. I mean, I don't know much about Mario Barrios. I will say that,
Mm.
and I'll blame lack of coverage on that one.
Mm.
And if this fight does get booked, obviously we got to do a film study.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's kind of weird, right?
Right.
Because even in his own weight class, there's a lot of drama with his name on it, and him attempting to move up to 140 sounds a little bit weird to me.
Yeah, I feel like he should.
Because especially since Tank looks like the kind of guy that would rather beat whoever is around him first.
Yeah, I think he has a pretty good chance at 135. I mean, don't you? Like, I don't know. I don't know why he's thinking about going up to 140. Other than the reason I gave, like there is not a lot of names in 140 at the moment. So we will see, right? So
For sure. But yeah, that's real interesting coming out of the uh, lightweight, junior, welterweight part of the sport,
right.
especially with one of the bigger names. For me, like I said, I'd rather try and scuffle with Haney and Garcia and Teofimo Lopez, all those guys first. Because if you can say that you can beat them, go ahead and do it. I
Right.
dare you.
Right. I mean, I would like. I actually like Gervonta's chances against Ryan Garcia. I think that's why I'm so intrigued by this idea of the fight happening. So we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. But okay, short news on Tank. Round three. It's fight week, Joy, again.
Hmm.
But this time, this card is a lot bigger.
Hmm.
A lot bigger. And by bigger, we got the cast Roman Chocolatito Gonzales versus Juan Francisco Estrada 2.
Hmm.
This Saturday, March 13th, 2021, in Dallas, Super Flyweight Unification. So, Joy, what are your predictions? Do you like either one of these guys? Tell me.
Styles make fights, right, Wes? Which is it like if everything went perfectly the way it's supposed to go, then Estrada should beat Chocolatito, right? Because Chocolatito has only had one arch nemesis throughout his entire career, and that's Wisaxiel. Uh, that's the guy that handed Chocolatito his only two losses, right? One by majority decision, and one by knockout. So, and guess what? Estrada won against Wisaxiel. So, like, it should just come around, right? But that doesn't happen in boxing. Styles make fights. But I think it's gonna be super interesting, right? Chocolatito, he's not that young fighter that we watched in the undercards earlier, like in his career. Um, but yeah, right. He's 33. Estrada is 30, so we'll see. I think Chocolatito still has it. He's kind of gone to this kind of road to redemption. His last three fights would have been his last two fights. Two of the three have been TKOs, so he's still there. He's still there, but we'll see. I think Estrada. Man, I'm probably gonna pick Estrada for this fight. I think he's a little bit more hungrier than Chocolatito.
So you're saying that we're looking at a rubber match because Chocolatito won the first time these two met.
Ooh, yeah.
So, okay, we're looking at trilogies maybe.
Styles make fights, and then of course, with Saxil is like in the middle of all of it, right? So like we kind of it reminds me of Pacquiao, Morales, Barrera, right? Like Pacquiao pretty much dismantled Barrera in the first fight, and then Morales beat Pacquiao in the first fight, and then all of a sudden it just became this kind of circle, right? And then Barrera fucking beats up Morales. So yeah, it was it's just pretty much a battle for supremacy, right?
Right. And let's not forget in that particular circle you're just talking about, Pacquiao ended up beating both guys
Both
in
guys.
rematches.
Yeah.
So, um, for me, uh, yeah, I'll take Estrada on this one.
Ooh. Okay.
I like rubber matches.
I like rubber matches.
I like tiebreakers, all that stuff.
Right.
You know, adds more suspense. It provides interesting storyline. Um, I think Estrada will. I think he's gonna knock him out.
Oh, wow. Okay, I think it's gonna be a decision. It's probably
You think
gonna be
so?
a split or a unanimous. Um, these guys, I mean, Chocolatito is really good, right? Like he has 50
Yeah.
wins and 41 knockouts. Estrada is a little bit more of like he a lot more of his fights have gone to distance. He's kind of more of a tactical fighter. Um, but I mean that doesn't mean he can't land shots. But yeah, I think this is going to be more of a decision than it is. Having said
Hey
that,
man,
having said that,
I'm just hedging because I thought Burchelt was gonna win on points, and
oh
what
yeah,
happened?
that's true, that's true. But I mean, with that being said, I mean Estrada's I think his last three fights have been TKO. So I mean, if he could keep up the momentum, I mean, then you pretty much you got it, Wes, for Chocolatito Estrada.
For sure. And I did want to add this fight or this card will be held over the zone and takes place in Dallas, Texas. So
Ooh.
match from going back to the North Texas region again.
Mm.
So good stuff, Eddie Hearn. You really like Texas. Nice. Anyway, but I do want to bring this point up in this card, and that's Cecilia Brækhus versus Jessica McCaskill too.
Mm.
And yes, these two ladies are great in women's boxing.
Right.
I mean, that's to me, this is a conversation separate from Clarissa Shields. But I wanted to revisit the discussion the other week about women fighting on bigger cards.
Mm.
This is kind of what I'm talking about.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So, and this is a good fight. This is a rematch fight too. I believe Brækhus won the first time. So, it would be really interesting to see if we run it back a third time or this run it back closes
another rubber match.
close. Yeah, either a rubber match or just closes the chapter.
Mm,
But we need more of this. We need more of high, the upper echelon of women's boxing fighting on the major networks, the major cards,
right,
right? I don't main event, co-main event, whatever. We need it.
right. Now,
It makes no.
are they the last undercard? Do you
I
know?
believe so.
Okay,
I believe they're co's. Yeah,
okay,
and it's like if UFC can easily do it, why can't boxing?
right. I mean,
Right?
this is
So
yeah. It's
I don't
the
understand.
yeah. It's the aspect of boxing that never. I mean, I wouldn't say never took on, but like, of course, there's also like the limited opportunity that these women are getting, and like obviously this is I mean this is kind of like the argument that I had, right, like in the beginning of the show, where this is where MMA is just far ahead of boxing, and it's sad, but like obviously like superstars in the women's division have kind of shaped the women's division, like, or the yeah, just the like women in UFC or MMA, right? But I'm not saying like there was also massive opportunity for female boxers, right? Like Layla Ali was incredible, right? Ann Wolf was incredible. How come we didn't see them in kind of like the main undercards of these bigger fights?
Sure.
I mean, we could have this discussion, right? Like, there's a lot of politics that play into boxing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying anything new here, right? But obviously, it's not fair.
Right.
And of course, given where we're at in our lives, Joy, we come to realize how important it is to have more women's bouts
Right.
in the public eye. But hey, this is a step in the right direction.
Mm, absolutely.
But Joy, that was an awesome first 3 rounds. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about another title fight taking place in the summer and Caleb Plant. But until then, let's take a quick one, and we will be right back. Boxers, trainers, fight fans, goats and goats, welcome back to the Decision No Decision podcast. We left off on Cecilia Brækhus and Jessica McCaskill, which is great for more representation in the sport and being on bigger cards. But now let's go into another title fight, and that is Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, taking place on May 22nd over ESPN light welterweight unification. Joy, what do you think?
Ooh, light welterweight. Mm,
Yeah, Josh Taylor is a Scottish guy that everyone loves in that division. Jose Ramirez, in the prime of his career, 29 years old, undefeated. Both guys are undefeated.
mm.
You know, a lot to risk. So it's not really a situation where somebody has nothing to lose. Everyone has everything to lose and everything to gain. So yeah,
Ooh, I mean, you know, this is a lot to gain, right? Because we spoken about the light welterweight division, or just the welterweight division, just in total. Like, if you're able to pretty much have this big win, you could pretty much propel yourself to the welterweight division, which is kind of like the bell cow of the sport. But I will say I do like Josh Taylor. I think uh I don't know. I think he's just a little bit better of a boxer than than Jose Ramirez. But then again, like, I've only seen one fight from each fighter, I will admit. So yeah, I mean, from what I've seen from Josh Taylor, I'm quite impressed. He's pretty good. He's pretty powerful. But yeah, we will see, right? We will see. Ooh, light welterweight. This is kind of the division where Broner wanted to go to. So yeah, we will see. We will see.
yeah, no, me too. I haven't seen much of either guy.
Mm,
Of course, everyone can get mesmerized by a United Kingdom accent,
yeah.
and both, like I said, both guys are undefeated. Both guys are chipping in their own uh, 135 titles
Right.
or 140 titles, and like I said, neither man has nothing to or everything to lose, everything to gain,
Right.
right? And I might have to go back in and do a little bit more work on both guys, but of course, it's hard to go against the more marketable name, but it's also hard to go against someone that's in their prime.
That is true. That is very true.
So a part of me feels like this is going to be a fight that we it's one of those like gifts that we're thankful to have on typical cable sat TV.
Yeah.
We don't have to pay for it, and as a matter of fact, it's in a division that's very close to where all the action's at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
So
yeah, and like obviously we get this classic bout between Southpaw versus Orthodox. So I mean, I do feel like after this fight, we're gonna know more about the fighters themselves than we previously had, of course. But yeah, like I don't know. I did see at least one fight from each of them. I think for Josh Taylor, I did watch the Ryan Martin fight. I think that's the one that I watched, and I watched the Maurice Hooker for Jose Ramirez. But yeah, like you said, right? Like I mean, these guys, we don't really know much about them, but we'll pretty much find out soon enough.
absolutely, absolutely, and no decision country or members of the gym, let us know what you think about Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. And as a matter of fact, let us know what you think about Chocolatito and Estrada, Breakus and McCaskill, Gervonta Davis and Shields and Marie DeCare. But okay, here we go. Last round, let's touch it up. Caleb Plant, so the second, maybe third, maybe fourth if you're a little bit strict. Biggest name at 168. He went on record saying, "I will make Canelo respect my boxing skills."
Mm.
Those are fighting words from Caleb Plant.
Ooh.
And of course, Canelo has Billy Joe Saunders in his way. May 8th, Benavidez has a fight coming up. Plant has yet to schedule. And Andrade has a fight in April.
Right.
So it's still going to be an open race, Caleb Plant, for who's going to be in the Canelo sweepstakes.
Right.
As a matter of fact, why don't you make someone else respect your boxing skills first before you think about Canelo Alvarez? I love you, man. I love Caleb Plant.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. We don't know until we fight, man. Or you don't know until you fight, rather. Not us. We're the winners here. We're the fans.
Right.
So, Joy, what do you think about Caleb Plant's words about making Canelo respect his boxing skills?
Ooh. I mean, I think I've said this before, right, in a previous podcast. I do like Caleb Plant. I do think he has a lot of boxing skills. And he has pretty, for being named Sweet Hands, I think he actually has pretty fast feet as well. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest weaknesses against Canelo, right? We've seen it, right? With the guy that pretty much almost beat Canelo, Alexander Lara. He has pretty quick feet. Of course, like he had to pretty much control the distance between him and Canelo, but unfortunately he couldn't do that in the latter half of the fight. And Mayweather, in the beginning of the fight, he had faster feet than Canelo Alvarez. If you stand there with Canelo Alvarez, of course you're gonna lose, right? But I think Caleb, that's why I think he's a little bit different. He is more of a guy who fights on his feet than he is pretty much with, just his power, right? Which he's not the most powerful guy. That's why I kind of like Caleb Plant's his chances, right? I mean, of course, he's a fighter. He's gonna have fighting words. Um, he didn't say that he was gonna knock out Canelo. He's gonna say he's gonna respect, his boxing skills, which I think it could possibly be the case. We will see, right?
For sure. And I don't know. I mean, I am gonna double down and really mean what I say,
Hmm.
right? That why don't we do one more
Okay.
fight with someone else, right?
Ooh.
Like I don't know. You want to see someone that will definitely, if you want a good result against Canelo, like you said before, Joy. I think I agree with you. Why don't you fight Triple G? Why don't you fight the Charlo brothers?
Ooh.
Tony Harrison even,
That is true. That is true, right? I
because
mean,
those are capable middleweights too.
right? And it seems as though
Just I mean a little bit lighter, sure, but
right, and it seems as though Canelo is preoccupied. I mean, it seems as though he's always had like 3 fights scheduled ahead of time.
mhm.
Whereas of course, Caleb Plant, he doesn't have that luxury. Because when you're the biggest fighter in the world, of course you kind of you already know who you're gonna fight in a couple of like in later bouts. But Caleb Plant is kind of in this limbo state at the moment, right? Where who does he fight next? Well, the other biggest name was Billy Joe Saunders, but unfortunately he's preoccupied at the moment. So I don't know. Well, maybe Caleb could absolutely fight one of the Charlo brothers. He could fight Triple G if he wants to kind of maybe go down, maybe 5 pounds, right? So we'll see. But he could also wait it out, right? Whoever wins between Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders, those guys. I mean, one guy could come out of this with all titles in the super middleweight. So that's quite exciting.
Right. And of course, like I said, there's also Demetrius Andrade fighting. There's also
Demetrius
Benavidez
Andrade,
fighting.
yeah,
So it's kind of like, oh my god. But then you don't want to wait too long
that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true, right? So
because
yeah,
Canelo, right? He's been on record saying that he wants to stay active.
ooh,
So
yeah,
that's where he already has a step ahead of the competition. It doesn't matter who's in front of him because he has form.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like
Unless he gets knocked the fuck out
that
somehow, but
that would
that's besides the point.
actually, now that you bring up Andrade, Demetrius Andrade, that would be a fight that I would like to see because we've spoken about Demetrius, right? Like he is too aggressive, right? He's not even like the Bronze Bomber, right? The Bronze Bomber, he's a little bit more patient. He trusts his power, but he's patient. Whereas Andrade, he will just try to outpower you from the beginning. Um, I think that would be an interesting fight. Obviously the slugger or like the guy with so like immense punching power versus the guy who actually knows how to box in Caleb Plant. That would be an incredible fight.
Oh, for sure, it's pretty much a pressure fighter against a boxer puncher.
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I mean,
Ooh, that would be a test. That would be a test for
that would be
Caleb.
a good test. I mean, granted, anybody not named Canelo Alvarez would be a good test for
For
Caleb
Caleb.
Plant at
Yeah,
this point,
absolutely.
right? Because when they don't, if you ever notice, Joy, in any kind of interview, whether it's Benavidez, Andre, Saunders, maybe maybe the Charlo brothers or whomever, when they realize that the name Canelo cannot be said in the answer, guess who they go to? Caleb Plant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean that just goes to show, right? Like a lot of boxers see Caleb more as the second guy in that super middleweight, right? Which is kind of strange because I actually kind of consider Billy Joe Saunders the second best fighter in the super middleweight. But I mean, we could talk about like he said, she said, but like yeah, it's funny,
I
right?
mean
Yeah,
I mean, remember how I started the round? I said, well, the second best guy in division, or third or fourth, depending on how strict you are,
right,
or if you're a
exactly,
little bit strict.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it seems as though like the middleweight division is just packed, same as the welterweight division. Um, Benavidez, like pointed out as well. He looks like he could be an incredible fight. You know, kind of too powerful, like just another powerful fighter that Caleb Plant could go up against. But I don't know. I was under the impression that I would love to see Benavidez versus Andrade more than Plant. But, you know, like again, maybe I just want Plant to wait it out a little bit longer because these aren't like these guys are powerful, Andrade and Benavidez. So we will see. We will see.
Right. And yeah, now that I think about it, it's pretty much like that 168 area is like the top guy is a freaking counter puncher.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then you got Caleb Plant, boxer puncher.
Boxer
And then
puncher.
you got Andrade, who is a freaking puncher, right?
He's just a
And then
puncher.
and then you got Benavidez,
You-
who says that he models his fighting style after Manny Pacquiao, but
He's a puncher.
then of course he's fighting two people at the same time. The first being the opponent in front of him, the second thing is a scale.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
So
I mean, yeah,
just kidding.
He's
just
a puncher.
kidding.
He's
but,
a puncher.
But it's yeah.
He wants the advantage.
Right. He wants the volume. He gives CompuBox it's the feelings that it needs.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And Wes, like you said, I'm so glad that you brought up the styles, because we've known in the history of boxing that boxers typically beat counterpunchers, right? Because boxers won't do anything that allows opportunity for counterpunchers to beat them in exchanges, right? And I think that's what draws me to Caleb Plant, right? He's not the most powerful guy, but he's pretty smart. He has a pretty good boxing IQ.
Right. And yeah, that it also reminds me, like, well, when I talk about combat sports to anyone, it's like, oh well, this person hits harder than the other. Well, that doesn't mean shit.
That doesn't mean shit, right? You gotta hit them first.
Right. Like, if you say here, word of advice, if you think hitting harder is gonna guarantee you wins, you're a bum.
Right.
So, but that's besides the point. I mean, I think Caleb Plant needs to get that one fight where everyone will freaking respect him. And this could be it.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or some kind of playoff within the division. And it's just weird because it's like too little opportunity, too many contenders.
Yeah, right. He kind of finds himself in a deadlock where, well, who does he fight next that would actually propel his name, right? Because, I mean, if he like I said, right, like if he gives Benavidez a chance, if he gives Andrade a chance, and he loses to one of these guys, then these guys' names are a lot bigger than what Caleb Plant was prior to the fight actually happening. So
exactly.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, we gotta wait till it actually happens.
Right.
But that concludes our show for tonight. Joy, say something now or forever hold your peace.
At the end of this whole fiasco, Anthony Durrell is going to hold all titles in the super middle. No, I'm just playing.
Someone's gonna. Okay. Somebody's wedding.
I'm sorry.
Your wedding, everybody.
I'm sorry, Anthony Durrell. If you're listening to this, I respect you. You're like, I thought that you won against Liam Williams.
Aaron Davis.
Davis.
Good Lord.
Liam Williams. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Yeah. I thought he won. I think we said right. I thought he won against Karan Davis.
I thought he beat Karan Davis.
Yeah.
Just by a little bit, though.
Just by a little bit. I mean, yeah. So you got robbed.
Anyway,
you technically got robbed, Durrell.
Anyway, that concludes our show for tonight. Thank you for showing showing up to the No Decision gym. If you are interested in the cars in circles with arrows, check out the Back It Run podcast,
Back at
where
run.
Joy is the lead. Just kidding, the Run It Back
Hit
podcast,
back run.
where Joy and I talk about the landscape of Formula One. And this week we talk about car launches as well as one of the most successful car companies looking to dip their toes in the F1 water. But hey, we're closed now. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But for what it's worth, if you come back next week,